All right, it's Saturday morning. That means it's time for Mike Onesko's Renegade Rock here on the Rogue Radio Podcast Network, bringing you all the great music every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have added interviews. And now we have a special guest today from Johnny Winter, Rick Derringer, Allman Brothers, Captain Beyond, Armageddon, the one and only, the great Bobby Caldwell. Welcome, Bobby, to Renegade Rock.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. Great to be here.
It's great to have you. And, you know, we start off the show with, we played Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo from Rick Derringer. So why don't you just tell our audience a little bit about that and how that came about? And I'm sure it was from when you played with Johnny Winter, you hooked up with Rick Derringer, right?
Well, what happened was Rick and I, had been playing with Johnny Winter, and when Rick decided that he wanted to try to do his own thing, is the best way to say it, he asked me to do it. And so we, at the time he asked me, I was actually playing with Cactus.
Really? Cactus?
Yes, I was. At that time, took Carmine's place there for a while.
Wow, that's pretty cool. That's interesting. And so you did play with Tim Bogert then?
No, Tim wasn't there.
Tim wasn't in the band. Oh, okay.
They had left to play with Jeff Beck.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that's interesting.
And it just happened that when Rick and I started on his album, we did it in Colorado at the famed Caribou Ranch.
Wow, that's cool.
It was really wonderful. And there was nobody there but the two of us. And Bill Simzik, the producer. There was just the three of us. There was no full band. There was no... just Rick and I sat up facing each other.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yep, and that's what you hear on those tracks. Is
Rick playing the bass and stuff?
He did. He went back and put the bass track on it.
Wow. Very cool.
But so it was kind of an interesting recording the way we went about, doing it, because we didn't have a whole band, and that you got to be on top of it when you're doing it just two people.
Yeah, especially when you don't have a bass player to work with.
Yeah, and you're in a room where there's just the two of you, and the rest of it's vacant space, and so that's how we did it. We recorded the album up there, Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo.
Did you tour with Rick after that?
No, because I was playing with Captain Beyond.
Oh, very nice.
So what happened was I had too much of my soul invested in Captain Beyond. So even if Rick and I had discussed, going out and doing it, I mean, we did, because there just wasn't any time, and I didn't have any interest, because my interest was
Captain Beyond,
with CB at that time.
Right.
And that's how we recorded Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. We actually had done that with Johnny singing it. If any of your listeners have heard Johnny Winter sing Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo, he does a fantastic job.
Yeah, it's a great version, but the Rick Derringer version with you guys in the studio is just unreal. Your drumming on that is beyond cool. That's all I have to say on that.
Oh, thank you.
So where are you from, Bobby, for all our fans out there that don't know a lot of your origins?
I have no idea, Mike. No, I'm kidding. Well, I was born in Washington, D.C., the nation's capital.
Wow.
Capital. And but I was raised in Florida.
Florida. So you consider yourself a Floridian, right?
Oh, I guess so. I don't really think of it in any way. I was raised in Florida. That's how it all started.
And how did you get your start in the business? Who was the guy that when you were young and you were just thinking of playing drums and you saw somebody, who was the main influence for you in your development?
I'll tell you what happened real fast. So what happened was I had joined the school band. Okay, there was a band and an orchestra at my junior high school. There was both a band and an orchestra. So I joined both of them. So I'm in the band and I'm playing in the drum section, but I couldn't read any music. And if you can't read any music,
you ain't in an orchestra.
You're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to have this classmate of mine who had really read well and sort of tutored me.
Wow,
but
that's
outside of the school, I had been listening to the radio through my older sister. So I could tell you all of the R&B hits from 1957, even when I was a child. So what happened was I got so addicted to the idea of playing a set of drums, and a buddy of mine's older brother had a local band. They were playing, because they were much older, they were playing all these teen dances and private parties and whatever it was.
So they were cool, very cool.
Well, they were doing, these guys were out of high school. They were in their first year of college, and they still loved to play.
And this was in the 60s, right?
That's right. And so what I would do is, his younger brother was a friend of mine. and I would go over when I knew they were going to be rehearsing, and I would sit outside on my bike and listen to them through the windows and the walls of his parents' house. And his parents never minded at all. It was really like Leave It to Beaver. They really supported them. And so I listened there, and then one day, the punchline to this story, Mike, is I got to go inside. Somebody in the band, I think
invited you in, right?
Invited me in.
Wow.
So I go in there, and I'm sitting there, very demure, like a little potted plant, and and the band, they're playing "I'll Go Crazy" by James Brown or whatever they were doing. They do a lot of R&B stuff those days. And I'm sitting there, and I keep staring, without trying to stare at the drummer. And I'm listening to everything that's going on, and I'm thinking, man, have I died and gone to heaven? And what is this? So what happened?
You're awakening. Yes.
Yeah, boy, am I ever. And I'm overwhelmed with appreciation of just being able to sit there. And at some point, they stop in between songs, and the drummer, I'll never forget his name, Ray Gilbert, and he looked over at me and he said, kind of like you would your little brother, hey, will I come over here and sit on the drums or something? And I thought, are you kidding me? And so he had no idea. I mean, I was ready. I was like ready to explode. And so I went over there. They started playing a song, anything. I don't remember. And I started playing along with it, only I didn't understand the dynamic of keeping time, keeping the backbeat and all this stuff. So I was so used to being in the school band that I was focusing playing on the snare drum. I mean,
right.
I never had anybody show me, now this is how you begin to learn how to play a set of drums.
With a kick drum, right.
All of it, yeah. And so what happened was, I obviously I wasn't doing the music very, it wasn't enhancing it at all, but it was okay. They weren't caring about that. But I remember how I felt, and I looked at the drummer, and he had this kind of, I got to say this right, he had this kind of endearing, understandable sort of smile on his face. It wasn't like,
like he understood.
He understood totally.
Right.
But he still couldn't help but sort of getting a sly smirk on his face. But I spotted it, and I thought, so I stopped, and then sooner or later, it was all finished. I thanked him and said goodbye to Ben, who was my friend Gary's older brother. But I remember riding home on my bicycle, Mike, and I remember thinking, yeah, you laugh. I'm going to be the best drummer in this you-know-what town, and it's not going to be long. And that was a real
defining moment.
It really was. I mean, and I practiced.
That's great.
Days and days and days and days. And I got to that point where I wouldn't say I was the best, but I got to the point where I started figuring out the difference between augmented and diminished and major and minor chords, if you understand the analogy.
Right.
They do on a definite pitches. And that's how it started.
Man.
And then I went to military school.
Really? Wow, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting.
Were you in the military school band?
I was.
Of course.
Mm-hmm. I think I'd rather have drank hemlock or something.
Well, you survived. And what was the first band you joined as a drummer when you knew that you were, found your niche? What was the first band you formed, or did you join a band, or did you start a band?
What happened was I begged my parents to buy me a set of drums. I mean, literally every friggin' weekend I'd say, can we go down to the music store, And my father was dead set against it. It wasn't, I don't know, it was probably a combination of the noise and the money.
Right.
And thinking, you're never going to stay with this, I'm just going to buy something and then sell it. But I bought this set of drums. Finally, he broke down, and sometime not that long after I had gotten them.
What was your first set of drums? What brand?
Gretsch. An old set of Gretsch.
Wow.
Yeah, from the Fit Gold Sparkle. I got a call from these guys that were also in junior college, that had a band. And they were really super, super nice guys. And they asked me, we need a drummer, can we try you out or something?
What was the name of the band?
The Deltas.
The Deltas.
Yeah.
Nice.
And of course, I was, again, having one of those high point, moods. And I was like, absolutely.
That you live
I tried out for them. I couldn't even drive a car, of course. And so they had to pick me up and take me everywhere. But I passed the audition. They loved the way I played. And that's how it started with this first band.
That's great. So eventually that led to you. How did you hook up with Johnny Winter? Was that through the Allman Brothers or?
No.
Johnny was before you met the Allman Brothers, right?
No, I had met the Allmans probably in I crossed paths with them in 1960. 68, 69 maybe. They were playing over in Daytona at a club called the Martinique for, now and again, not all the time. And that's where, Dwayne and Greg and their mom lived. And so the short version is I was playing in a group from Tampa, Florida called Noah's Ark. And I paid my dues with those people. We played everywhere and tried to get a break. And we went to New York.
What kind of material was that? Progressive rock or heavy rock?
No. I wouldn't even know how to spell that word at that time. It was
just rock and roll.
Yeah, it was commercial sounding like you would hear on the radio at the moment, so, and that was fine, but we were trying to get picked up and get noticed. So Decca Records gave us a contract. And so what happened was years later, now, Mike, going years later, I get a call one afternoon from a guy. This is going to tell you the story. This is a pretty interesting story if I do say so. So what happened is my road drum tech guy, whatever, calls me in the afternoon and he says to me, Bobby, listen, how would you like to come down and jam with Johnny Winter?
Wow.
Now, it's about 200 degrees outside. It's in July in Florida. And I've just finished practicing for a couple of hours on my own.
So you were wiped out.
Well, not so much you wiped out. I told him, and this guy was a super music lover that worked for us. He's just a great guy. And he said, why don't you come on down and jam with John? And I said, David, I don't like to jam with people. It's boring. I said, what? It's just not my thing. I mean, I've done it, but I don't have any interest in doing it. At the time, Mike, the truth be known that I was a Jimi Hendrix Experience aficionado. I mean, I knew when I heard those chords and the arrangements, those songs and what he was doing, that's where I wanted to be if I could get there.
We all did.
And so he just keeps talking to me. Oh, where are we going to put? Now, remember, he works for Noah's Ark, so I'm going to be seeing him on the weekend somewhere. Right. Where are we playing this weekend? Oh, we're going to be over so-and-so, I think, and I'll find out and tell you more. And we stayed on the phone, and finally he keeps coming back to this, will you come over for just a little bit and jam? Something, when he asked me again, some light came in. It was, you
better do it.
Your intuition said, why don't you just go over there? So I thinking, okay. I said, all right, Dave, I'll go over there for a little while.
Did you know who Johnny Winter was?
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Okay. And they were rehearsing at a neighbor kid that I know from this town at his house. So I pull up, and all these local people, of course, by this time, they're all standing around in the front yard of this, this beautiful, Winter Park's a fairly affluent area. It's like Shaker Heights is, I guess. And
right.
I'm sitting out there. But remember, this is the days before, carried bottled water stuff, and I'm standing there. And I keep hearing this music, and I see people coming in and out of the house. Finally, I said to Dave, he's walking around, and I call him over. I said, listen, do you have any idea when they're going to do this? Because I said, 200 degrees out here. I said, I'm going to go on home and eat and take my girlfriend out, who on a 1 to 10 scale was about 12.5. And if you know what I mean.
Yes.
And so I thought, I'm going to go home and take Diane out. So he said, hang on a minute. He goes out, comes back about 10 minutes later. He said, okay, they're going to be ready for you any minute. So I'm thinking at this time, Mike, I'm frustrated. I'm hot. I'm tired of sitting around. It's like, really? So anyway, from the front door, I'm out by the street. He summons me. So I go in the front door, and in this guy's living room stands Johnny Winter, Edgar Winter.
Wow.
Rick Derringer.
No
Randy
way. Are you kidding? In his living room?
Yeah, in the living room. Steve Paul, the manager. Teddy Slade is the road manager, and assorted technical road people. And they're all sort of, kind of clamoring around. And I look over at this really bad drum set. That was in the corner that, I'm thinking, oh, shit, I guess that's what I'm going to jam on. And so I shook hands with everybody. I said, hey, how are you? I made my way over to the drum set, and I thought to myself, let's just get this over with so I can get on my way type. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just didn't have the patience for it. It's like, what am I doing here for this? Because I wasn't.
You weren't starstruck at the moment.
No, not at all. It was always about the music. So if the music wasn't, doing something for me, I didn't care if it was, King Farouk.
True professional. I love that.
So what happened was I sat on the drums, and all of a sudden I started playing this really intense drum pattern between the tom-tom, the snare drum, the kick drum, and the bell of the cymbal. And it was really sort of a very up-tempo. You could almost call it a jazz pattern, but with a heavier hand to it. I just started playing, and they all joined in. All of a sudden, now everyone is playing. That's got an instrument on, and Edgar's sitting. He's got his sax around his neck, and everyone's playing. Now, I'm not even looking up to these people. I'm not looking up to.
You're just jamming.
I'm just trying to play and do the best I can. And so we go through these different feels. So we start doing a blues shuffle, and then we do a slow blues, and then we do a straight rock and roll tune a la Chuck Berry. Then we do a heavier type of thing, and then we do that. And we just all seem to be able to listen well and gravitate together to do it.
That's what we all strive for, man, isn't it?
Yeah. Randy Hobbs was one of the best bass players ever to play popular music. The late Randy Hobbs.
Randy Joe Hobbs is great.
He could play almost anything. And of course, Rick at that time was coming into his own. He wasn't quite there yet.
No, but he was.
He was a hell of a player, even right then. So what happened was we're playing along anyway. And there's this frenzy, and we're going through it. Finally, we come to this screeching stop. Johnny looks at me, and he says, I'm not sure I think I didn't even have a chance to stand up. But he looks at me, and he says, can you travel? And I said, yeah. I had been traveling so much. Of course, he wouldn't have known. I've been traveling so much the last few years, trying to get arrested up in New York and whatever. And I almost accomplished that. And so anyway, the next thing he says to me, Mike, he says, well, I want you to join my band.
Wow. How cool is that?
And just behind him, I hear Edgar say, well, I want him to join my band. So now, wait a minute.
Hey.
Picture yourself for a moment.
And how old were you?
19.
19. That's insane.
So check this out. Everyone's at a standstill, right? And he's directing his comments and questions to me. When he says, I want you to join my band, I didn't really know what to say. I mean, I was sort of like, really? What are you asking me that for? Remember, it's supposed to be a jam session.
Right. Not an audition.
And so I said, well, the only thing I could think of is I said, well, what are your plans? Hell, I didn't know I didn't even know what to say. He said, well, we're going to be doing the finishing some shows here in Florida, and then we got to go back to New York, and then we're going to France. I said, okay.
19, and you're going to France. How cool is that?
I said, great. And I said, Teddy, here's my home number, to call me at, because he had to call me, a few days later, whatever, start coordinating things. And so it all happened at that moment. And I drove out of there. Truthfully, the impact of what it was didn't really hit me, because I had been working towards this moment. I mean, I really had been working towards this moment. I used to tell everybody that were friends of mine here that I am going to, I don't want to sound corny here for your listeners, but I am going to be successful at this, one way or the other.
That's not corny.
I'm not going to end up playing in these saloons and these bars, for the next 20 years. Forget it. I'm not doing that.
Right.
I'm going to go somewhere, and as I'm driving home, I'm thinking, wow, really? Johnny Winter, and man, this is something else. And that's how it started. And I went home, and of course, I told my parents, and they didn't really get it. I mean, they if I told them this guy was one of the biggest live attractions in the world, and we were at the time, it sort of made an impact on them, but not a lot. And then I said, I'd be leaving soon, and blah blah blah, and that's how it began.
Wow. That's cool. Well, listen, we're talking with the great Bobby Caldwell right now from Johnny Winter, Rick Derringer, Armageddon, Captain Beyond. We're going to take a break right now and play Raging River of Fear from Captain Beyond, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're right back here. This is Renegade Rock. I'm Mike Onesko. We're talking with the great Bobby Caldwell, and we just listened to Raging River of Fear from Captain Beyond. Now, you got to tell us how the whole Captain Beyond thing came about. Come on, Bob.
Well, okay, here we go. So what happened was Rhino, Larry Reinhardt, and Lee Dorman had been playing in the
From Iron Butterfly.
And they contacted me and said they'd like to talk to me about starting a new band. Now, I'm still playing with Johnny Winter.
Right.
And they're telling me that the Butterfly is about to fold, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, look, I can't answer that right now. I said, but we're going to be in L.A., hell, I don't know, a month later or something. Let's get together when I come there and, come down to the show and we can talk and blah, blah, blah. So they came over when we got there and we talked about this mythical band, but I still couldn't commit to it because I'm thinking, really? I don't know. I mean, as much as I'm a venturous type, I'm thinking, the Johnny Winter and the group had become a juggernaut.
Big juggernaut.
I mean, nobody, and some people thought that they should be the headliners on some shows, regretted it because you couldn't. I mean, this thing was.
When I was in high school, we wore that 8-track out. Johnny.
Well, I mean, live-wise, did you ever see the band live?
Yes, I did. I saw them live. Yes.
Okay, so so I won't name some names of some groups that thought that they should be the headliner until they heard us, and then they quickly changed that. But anyway, so I'm playing with Johnny, and I'm being, entertained.
Courted by
a couple of people who want to start this new sort of group.
Band.
But it really wasn't called a super group. It was just, let's see if we can get this together. Now, Lee Dorman from Iron Butterfly.
And they were wheeling in dough from Iron Butterfly into God Is
Huge.
Yeah.
They couldn't spend their money. They had so much, okay? Now, Lee, who I miss the both of those guys very much. I love the two of them. And Lee at that time was, he was a bachelor living in his beautiful house in the Hollywood Hills. And I mean, he
living the life.
I think I left there with Johnny. Of course, we had more shows to do. Went up to San Francisco, played the Fillmore West several nights, and then up to Washington, Spokane, and all these other places. We started talking more, and all of a sudden I get a call from Teddy, our road manager, saying that Johnny is going to take some time off. And I'm thinking, what? And he said, yeah, Johnny's going to take some time off. He needs to rejuvenate, rehabilitate, kind of get off the whole thing. And I said, oh, well, okay. I thought, well, maybe this is
a good time, yes.
This is the answer right here. And so I said, okay, well, I'll come out to L.A. and, I can come out now and we'll see what happens. So we got together, Rhino and Lee and I, but we didn't have a singer. And the management with Iron Butterfly said, well, we know of this guy that we've talked to or ran across or heard about. Used to be the singer with Deep Purple.
Rod Evans.
And he's around. He's relocated from London to L.A. So we got together with Rod and we started talking about this band, and we didn't know, nobody knew where to start. And I said, well, let me just tell you this from the get-go. I'm not starting or playing in a fucking blues band. I mean, I said, I've been playing with Johnny. I've been playing with the Allman Brothers. I'm bluesed out. I said, now, I don't mind playing blues-inspired music. That's fine. But I'm not going to some 1-4-5, let's do it, type thing.
Captain Beyond was anything but that, I'll tell you.
Right. And so everybody said, well, that's fine. I said, I want to do something adventurous. Those are my exact words.
Groundbreaking.
And as we started rehearsing at Larry Reinhardt's house every day, Rod and Lee and myself. I was living with Lee at the time. We drove out about a 30-minute drive to Rhino's house, and we rehearsed all day. From about 9:30 in the morning till about 5:30, just like it was a paid job.
Right.
And that's what we did. And so
fantastic.
That's how we got started. And most of the music was written by Larry and I.
You were the main songwriters?
Of the music.
Right.
Of the lyric, it was Rod and I together.
Oh, good. So you are a lyricist also.
Yeah, so I wrote the lyrics to Dancing Madly Backwards, Raging River of Fear, Frozen Over, 1,000 Days of Yesterdays, and Rod wrote Mesmerization Eclipse, which is tremendous lyrics on that, and he wrote everything of Myopic Void, and we shared those duties, but the arrangements somehow fell on my plate to do. So I would arrange the stuff.
To me, the song arrangement is one of the most important parts of the songwriting process.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, we started putting that all together, and
you're good at it.
Yeah, we did a demo, and this is the end of the story. We did a demo. Rhino had a 4-track Scully analog, and
that's what you did the original demo on?
The original demo, and it's on the Lost and Found that's out on Cleopatra. It's called Lost and Found. The original demo is on there.
I have to dig that up and play it.
Well, I had it.
You had it.
I'd been sitting on it for years. When Cleopatra was, wanting me to come up, can I find anything else or whatever? I said, well, I might be able to find the original demo. So what happened was we took it in and we mastered it at Paramount in Hollywood, and mixed it rather, and we got all that together. So now here come the Allman Brothers to play the Whiskey. Having played with the Allmans all those previous months and years, and Rhino knew them too. So we go down to see him at the hotel, and we bring this demo. We started reliving old times and what was going on and how the band started and how long you've been out here in LA and all that. And somebody said, well, listen, let me play you this little snippet of some stuff we've been doing. Oh, yeah, let's hear it. Absolutely. And we played it. I think Dwayne and Greg were both standing there, maybe Dickie, I forget who else, Lee, me, Rod was not there. And as we were playing it, we were playing Can't Feel Nothing, I think's on there, and Rage River Fear and a couple others. Dwayne started just flipping out. He kept stopping it and going, this is unbelievable. He go, where the hell did you record this? I mean, it was, he just couldn't believe it.
How cool.
It was great. I mean, it really was tremendous. And he said, I got to call Phil right now. I got to call Phil Walden and tell him if he doesn't sign you.
Is that the guy from Capricorn?
That was the president, Phil Walden. And whatever Dwayne said, Phil would jump, 50 feet in the air.
Right.
If he asked him to jump 2 feet. I mean, he listened. He bowed down to Dwayne. So when Dwayne's calling him, telling him about Rhino, because he knew Rhino. He knew about Larry, Phil did, back in Macon, and he's telling him about this band. He's just raving about it. So Phil says, can you guys come down to the office tomorrow? He wasn't wasting any time. And so we sauntered down there. Yeah. Now, just for the record, no pun intended, we had already gone to a couple of record companies and been turned away. And that's fine.
Yeah.
And so we said, yeah, well, great, Phil, we'll see you tomorrow. So we went down there. And we're sitting across the desk from it. Phil says, well, what do you guys want to do? And Rhino says, well, ultimately we'd like to go to Europe and play a lot of shows over there before we come and start playing in the U.S. Well, Phil's got this tablet out, and Phil's checking off these things. Yep, okay, no problem. Phil says, well, you guys are going to need some money, I'm sure, to finance some of these things, whether it's this or that. Blah, blah. How much do you think you need? I don't know, Phil. We have no idea. We haven't even thought it through.
Right.
I don't know, 50 grand maybe. I mean, he goes, okay, no problem. Says, I'm going to tell the secretary when we get finished here, and he keeps writing down everything we said, he said yes to.
Pretty strange, huh?
I mean, yeah. There's no hesitation, though. It's not like, well, it's like, okay, fine. Yeah, you got it. Okay, great. Yeah, okay, you need this too? Or how many? You need 2 of those. Okay, I got it. Okay, no problem. All of a sudden, we're finished with the meeting. Nothing's agreed or decided on. And we leave. We shook hands. Thanks, Phil. Really appreciate it. Enjoyed seeing you, brother. And now, I think that night we all talked on the phone, or the next day we talked on the phone. And no matter, how we tried to debate it, negotiate it amongst ourselves, when everything you're suggesting, the guy's going, yeah, no problem. Okay, fine. How much? Okay, we get that. We can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Yeah, that's no problem. We can say, you want to go to Europe? How many times you want to go? Okay, we got it. You know what I mean? I got the booking agency to put you. Listen, I can fill you up over there. That's no worry. It was really hard, Mike, to not agree to it. I mean, to say no. It's really, in retrospect, we should have gone to Warner Brothers and Reprise and a few other adventurous labels, but we didn't.
And the rest is history, right?
Basically.
That's a great story, Bobby. Captain Beyond. So you're going to be taking Captain Beyond. We only got a few more minutes here, so tell our listeners what's in store for Bobby Caldwell and the new version of Captain Beyond.
Well, Captain Beyond's been out on the road up until the Black Plague hit.
Yeah, so I was happy to see you in Cleveland here a few years ago.
Yeah, that's right. I was really glad that you came down, too. And so we've kept pretty busy, but we have a sort of a reestablished the lineup. It's going to be starting somewhere around June.
Hitting the road, right?
Yeah, onward. So you can hope everybody that can hear this or listen.
Well, I hope you come back to Cleveland.
I do, too. Yeah. I would like to. Yeah, I hope we can, too, for sure.
So great. Thanks for coming on Renegade Rock again, Bobby. The great Bobby Caldwell. How cool is that? Thank you again. Do you have any last words to our Renegade Rock listeners before you say goodbye, Bobby?
I want to thank all of you people listening to this and all of the years that you may have found it interesting in whatever I'm doing in music or whatever. I just want you to know I really appreciate it, and God bless you all, and I thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Bobby. Bobby. And this is Mike Onesko. You're listening to Renegade Rock on the Rogue Radio Podcast Network. See you next week, kids.